Wurlitzer furnished the electronic piano labs for Interlaken, which was then called the National Music Camp. It's now
Mm-hmm.
called Interlaken Arts Camp. And when they hired people to do group piano in Interlaken, they called Larry and said, "Who should we hire?" So I get this call. Larry Rast has recommended you to teach group piano at Interlaken. I'm
Oh my.
24.
Wow.
And so that became a really wonderful experience to me. Then after going back to Northwestern and doing my doctorate, I knew that I wanted to find a position where I could uh, shape a curriculum that trained people to teach group piano.
Mm-hmm.
This clip is from the Piano Inspires podcast, Season 3, Episode 2, featuring E.L. Lancaster with host Yi-Seon Kwan.
So did you have aspirations when you went to Murray State, when you went to college, have an idea of, you're clearly you went to go study piano and music, and have a mind in terms of vocation, direction, path?
I actually had no idea. I knew I loved music.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a family of teachers, so I signed up for a double major. I signed up for music education and math. After the first math course, I knew it wasn't math for me. And the nice part about the music education program there was I was treated like a piano performance major, even though I wasn't. And I ended up, I played all the time and accompanied all the concertos and for people, gave recital, played my own solo recitals and etc. But I was certified to teach as well in the public school. And when I did my student teaching, it was a very, very unique situation. There were so many student teachers that semester
Mm-hmm.
that they had a hard time placing them. They placed me with a first year teacher who happened to be a fraternity brother. So you can imagine what kind of experience that was. So I decided, I really don't want to teach public school. I don't want, and I applied as for piano at several schools and ended up at the University of Illinois, where I studied pedagogy with James Lyke and Gail Berenson. And that put me on the career that I wanted to go on.
So how long did you teach public school?
I didn't teach. I only did the semester of student teaching. I never taught public school as a job.
But you knew at that point that you were wanting to do something else.
I knew I didn't want to teach public school. I knew I wanted to do something with piano.
And so
But I had to figure that out in my master's program.
And that picture became clear for you.
It became very clear when I got to the University of Illinois and I got into the piano pedagogy class with Lyke and Berenson. Then I knew what I wanted to do.
And what was the state of group piano at that time, though?
Well, Jim Lyke had established the group piano program at the University of Illinois, and we observed all the group piano classes. There was no electronic piano lab at that point. It was all on acoustic pianos. The other thing that they also had a jazz program there, and we were encouraged to take jazz piano in a group setting at the same time, which was also really helpful in really learning how to teach group piano as well as just observing the classes that were there.
I mean, I can't help but go to group piano because, you're larger than life, and not just in my own life, but in so many of the teachers, where group teaching was when I saw it, experienced it, I knew instantly, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to specialize in, amongst other things. And so I'm trying to backtrack in time. How did it find you? You found it, or?
Well, I knew I loved it when I was that master's student in those classes. And then when I got my first teaching job, which was at Harper College, a community college outside
Right.
of Chicago, Harper was a relatively new school at that point, and I was to be the fourth full-time music faculty member. And Harper called Jim Lyke and said, "We're hiring someone to really be in charge of the piano program, but mainly the group program, and coordinate adjuncts who taught most of the private lessons." And they said to Dr. Lyke, "We want one of your students. Can you recommend someone?"
Wow.
And he recommended me. And then I don't know how many other people they interviewed, but I ended up getting the job, which was very, very lucky because I was able to just build that program from the very beginning
Mhm.
because there really hadn't been a program before. They may have had a class or two, but it wasn't really organized as
Mhm.
a real group piano curriculum,
Yes.
with that kind of oversight, I should say. Yeah. Let me add a little bit more.
Sure.
So at that point, I don't know if the name Larry Rast means anything to you.
Hmm.
Larry Rast taught at Northern Illinois University. He was for the first Wurlitzer electronic labs. He was the person that Wurlitzer hired to go around the country, literally, and train people to teach group piano in an electronic piano lab.
Wow.
He was the essence of creativity. And he taught a graduate seminar in piano pedagogy one night a week at Northern Illinois University. I commuted over my second semester of teaching in Harper and took his class
Oh
because
my.
he was the guru of electronic piano lab teaching. And then as I began to go on, I mean, I knew that was what I wanted to do. And then when I was figuring out what I wanted to do for graduate school, I was fortunate enough to go to Northwestern University and work with Francis Larimer, who was also a guru of group teaching, and which you worked with too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's where
Uh,
I caught my spark too.
right. And so between Jim Lyke and Gail Berenson and Larry Rast and Francis Larimer, I studied with all the group piano leaders at that
Oh.
time.
Well, and you are continuing to still lead. I can't help but, when I wear my faculty hat, I know programs often go hand in hand with curriculum. And you have had such a hand on that in terms of developing group teaching as a concept. Here's group teaching as a program, but where did the curricular aspect, and I guess that's all pedagogical too in some ways, you can't separate one from the other, but how did that knit together?
Well, let me back up a little bit. My connection with Larry Rast at Northern Illinois University was very interesting because it led to other doors for me too, because uh, since he was the consultant for Wurlitzer who went around and trained people to teach in Wurlitzer labs, Wurlitzer furnished the electronic piano labs for Interlaken, which was then called the National Music Camp. It's now
Mhm.
called Interlaken Arts Camp. And when they hired people to do group piano in Interlaken, they called Larry and said, "Who should we hire?" So I get this call. Larry Rast has recommended you to teach group piano at Interlaken. I'm
Oh my.
24.
Wow.
And so that became a really wonderful experience to me. Then after going back to Northwestern and doing my doctorate, I knew that I wanted to find a position where I could uh, shape a curriculum that trained people to teach group piano.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate enough to get a job at the University of Oklahoma. And that's where I started the curriculum development and
Wow.
etc.
Well, remember first seeing your name in the class textbook, the Stecker Horowitz,
Right.
Lancaster.
Yeah. Keyboard
Yes,
strategies.
keyboard
Right.
strategies, and looking at this. does not look like a piano. It was novel in the sense that there were group activities, there were musicianship, there was foundations, there's piano technique, improvisation, even it just looked different. And I thought, I'm learning to do different things here. And that was very meaningful.
It was kind of that whole book was kind of a fluke, because you probably know that Stecker and Horowitz were a duo piano team, a concert duo piano team, who happened to play at Harper College. Fred Kern, who taught at Northwestern and University of North Texas eventually, at that time taught part-time also at Harper and taught a group piano class at Harper. And we had become friends and started like kind of developing materials together. Stecker and Horowitz had the connection to a publisher. We had the group type things. So we collaborated with him on that book. So that was the first time. And Fred was a real key on that and that too. Yeah.
Well, I think I could see now, talking to you, the seeds of what a great collaborator you are, Eyal. I mean, you are a bringer of people together. Or, I mean, if I can put that as a word. But honestly, like you said, this is how you collaborate with authors and ideas, and you make a product. And you've been doing this your whole lifetime, and you're continuing to do that with new materials. But you bring people together, you look at materials together, and you end up with an outcome together. And I just think that's such a special quality about you.
Well, the first product, let's say, that I did, other than the book that you were talking about, was developing the master's and doctoral programs at the University of Oklahoma. And if you think about those, there is a Master of Music in Performance and Pedagogy. There's a Master of Music Education with a piano pedagogy emphasis. There's a DMA in Performance and Pedagogy, and there's a PhD with a pedagogy emphasis. Why do you think I established that? Because I had that music education background as an undergraduate, and I knew there were people who wanted to really study music education as well as learning to play the piano and learning to teach. So that's how that collaboration actually began. As a collaborating type.
Be sure to listen to the full episode on our website, pianoinspires.com, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.